Right. Hello, everyone. My name is Tariq, and I'll be your host today. I hope you can all hear me loud and clear. Um, Dr. Udil, can you hear me all, please?
Yes, we can. We can.
Right, good then. Well, first of all, it is an honor to welcome you to this very important session organized by the Arewa Mentorship Program. The aim is that for the session would last for about 2 hours. It is being recorded and also broadcasted on our social media platforms at Arewa Mentorship. Now, as we've seen on the advertorials, we've intended to have five aficionados to talk on breaking the barrier youth participation in governance. However, we've received an apology from Barrister Saida Saad that she won't be able to make it due to unforeseen circumstances. Now, hopefully each session will last for about 20 minutes. Please do use the raise hand option on Zoom in order to ask your questions, or alternatively, you could use the chat box in order to type your questions, and we'll have this addressed after the talks. Now, usually I like to start the sessions by looking at some statistics. Now, we already know that the population of Nigeria is a little over 200 million. Now, according to Statista, more than 33% of this population lies within the age of 15 to 35, which is the African character youth age. Now, although youth make up an increasing chunk of the Nigeria's population, we youth are often excluded from the national and international decision-making structures that affect our lives. Now, as we've read in our history books, Nigeria's liberation struggle from colonialism benefited immensely from the contributions of the like of Tafawa Balewa, Bafemi Awolowo, and Herbert Macaulay, whom actively contributed at their youthful age. Now, the effort of these youth led to the Nigeria's independence, and again contributed in driving the struggles for democracy in the 80s as well as the 90s. However, over the years, there's been several barriers which have emerged, and it makes it very difficult for youth to actively participate and contribute at the country's decision-making tables. The aim is that by the end of this session, each and every one of us here identify ways in order to break these barriers, and also to kickstart a number of debates, both locally and internationally, in order to talk about the urgencies for us youth to join and actively participate within the political space. Well, you're not here to hear me, you're not here to listen to me talk about politics, youth in politics, but as usual, as I've already seen a number of familiar names, but nonetheless, for those that are joining us for the first time, I think it's very important for you to get to know about the Arewa Mentorship Program and how you can get involved. And for this, I'll call on our coordinator, Dr. Yakubu Udul, to give us a short introduction of the Arewa Mentorship Program. Dr. Yakubu, over to you, please.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, Dr. Tariq, for this introduction. My name is Yakubu Sani Udil, and I speak from King Fahd University of Petroleum and Minerals here in Saudi Arabia. I would like to start by extending our profound appreciation to the distinguished speakers for honoring our invitation to mentor our youth in spite of their tight schedules. This has indeed reiterated their unwavering commitment to the development of our people and the country at large. I also welcome our audience for joining us. Now, that said, the Arewa Youth Mentorship Program is an initiative created by concerned Northern Nigeria academics and entrepreneurs residing in different parts of the world to provide career guidance, academic mentorship, leadership training, and entrepreneurship skills to our team in youth. The establishment of the initiative was prompted, of course, by the obvious multiple socioeconomic challenges facing the northern region, as well as inadequate awareness among our youth. We believe that our youth have the requisite talent to excel globally. However, they lack the necessary information to thrive. We therefore take it as a responsibility upon us to equip them with the necessary tools and information to pursue excellence in all fields of endeavor. The program is still in its infancy. It was started about a year ago. We therefore welcome all capable hands willing to offer their contributions in these projects, in all respects, of course, to join us. At present, we conduct the programs through online media. We have a Telegram group where the mentors routinely share opportunities like jobs, scholarships from across the world. So we have so far actually recorded some remarkably astounding progress. A couple of students were able to secure jobs, graduate scholarships, and postdoctoral position, courtesy of AYMP mentorship. So it is our hope that as the program expands its frontiers and we get more hands, we shall start conducting physical sessions in our high institutions of learning and secondary schools. Therefore, if this is your first time of joining the AYMP talk, you can access all our past sessions on our YouTube page. I will share the link in the chat box to all our handles so you can follow. I therefore encourage the youth to make optimum use of this golden opportunity. So without taking much of time, I will hand over the floor to Dr. Tariq for the commencement of the program. Over to you, Dr. Tariq.
Right, thank you very much for that introduction. So today, as you all know, our experts are renowned and need no introduction. These are technocrats, academics, figureheads, politicians, although I'm not sure if they will all agree with me on that, that have made immense contribution both locally and internationally. As such, my individual introductions will be concise, just so that we have more time to tap to their wealth of knowledge and experience. So our first speaker would be Professor Ruqayyah Rufai. Professor obtained her master's from Bayero University, Kano, and a doctorate degree from West Virginia University in the United States. She was a commissioner for health under the military regime of Sani Abacha, and in 2003 became the professor, or rather a professor at Bayero University, Kano. She served as a commissioner for education, science, and technology in Jigawa State. Professor was also the first female northerner appointed as the Nigerian Minister of Education, a position which she held for about 3.5 years. Prof has made significant contributions in education throughout the country that involved approval and establishment of several universities across the country, as well as actualization of a change in the country's outdated curriculum for the senior secondary schools. Without further ado, Prof, I'll hand over the virtual mic to you. I think, as I've been informed, you have a PowerPoint to share. So I'll, if you could kindly unmute your mic, that way you could be able to speak.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm happy to be with you. I'm very pleased to have been invited, and I wish to share my screen. Okay, can you see the screen?
Yes, yes, we can.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you very much. Breaking the barrier to youth participation in governance. I'm happy that, as I mentioned, that our youth have come together to form this forum, and they are making a mark through the social media online. And I listened to the coordinator, somebody that introduced the forum. Yes, we pray that there'll be an opportunity for you to have physical meetings so that you will have more impact. But we are happy that you are even at this level now. So the objectives of my presentation are as follows. At the end of the brief presentation, I would like to look at the issue of state of youth in Nigeria. youth and Nigerian politics and governance. And I wish to correct that, no, not all the presenters are politicians. I am in the university as an academic, so I would like to be taken as such. And then barriers to youth participation in politics and governance in Nigeria, which is the major issue now. And then, of course, the strategies on how to ensure that we have the reverse of the situation. Then the state of youth in Nigeria. The population of youth in Nigeria between the ages of 18 to 35 is estimated at 52.2 million. And that is about 28%, even though I had the presenter or the coordinator saying 33. If we have 33%, then we are also happy with that. That is a comfortable 1/3 of the population. These are partly made up of young people in the education sector, as well as professionals in the early or mid ages of their careers. This is the distribution of the population by age groups. And this is recent 2021. And the challenges facing youth in Nigeria, the recent socio-political challenges are adversely affecting Nigerian youth. Of course, across the world, but we are more particular about what is happening to ours at this level. The youth unemployment has grown from 25.3% in January 2017, rising to 53.4% in January 2021, which is alarming. And many of our youth are being forced into antisocial activities, which are largely due to poverty. And those have consequences for the future consideration that the youth are being looked upon as future leaders. So if we have issues with the youth, then of course it's eventually going to affect the entire population. This is the chart for unemployment. We have seen that in January 2017, look at what we have, 25.3%, but then by January 2021, we have 53.4%, as already mentioned. Then the importance of youth participation in politics and governance, yes, it is important, considering the large number of youth in the population. It is very important that they are carried along in terms of what is happening around them. So the key importance of their participation in politics and governance include the following. One, effective representation. They need to be represented in all spaces of life, in politics, in governance, anything that is being done in the country, they're also supposed to be taken along, supporting and influencing the formulation of effective policies, so that policies that will be formulated will actually favor the youth. And whatever they come up at their level should also be like a chart or a plan or a strategy plan that will lead them in terms of participation in the entire affairs of the nation, particularly in terms of governance and politics. And then inclusiveness, to ensure that, yes, youth are included. Are they included now? What's happening now? What are the issues? Then ensuring that rights and interests are protected in the decision-making process. That whatever decisions are being taken, the youth also have to be on board. We also have to have ensuring that no section of the population is disenfranchised. So it means that the youth are also supposed to be part of what is happening around them and enhancing greater progress of the society. So these are the key issues why we need to have youth participation. We need them because they are part of the population. In fact, they are a major part of the population, and so they have to be carried on board. But what is the current status now of the youth in Nigerian politics and governance? Generally, youth are not currently active in Nigerian politics and governance and are mostly bystanders. They are behind, actually, not carried along as expected. Many are victims of manipulation by the older political class. Some get involved in political thuggery. Others participate in efforts that disrupt the electoral process during elections. Actually, they allow themselves to be used instead of them to have their votes count, to be on their feet, to ensure that things are going on that will favor them. Unfortunately, they are like followers to the old political class in terms of political thuggery, in terms of assisting them to disrupt the electoral process. I'm sure my colleague that is more competent in that will say more about that. Then the reality of this can be seen that of recent, youth leaders of mainstream political parties are people in their late 40s or early 50s. We have definition of youth. We have the age limit. We have the age bracket. But unfortunately, people that are calling themselves youth are really not youth. So where are the youth? Where are the Nigerian youth? So we need to ask that question and ensure that the youth occupy their proper position in the society. The Nigerian youth do not seem to have taken leaves from the example set by our founding fathers. The Nigerian youth movement, which was established in 1934 or 38, among the grooming groups for the political class are Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe and Chief Obafemi Awolowo. So as a result of that 1930s movement, which was very prominent at that time, we have the coming up of Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, and we know the position he held, and we have that of Chief Obafemi Awolowo. The Northern People's Congress, also the NPC, was established, and it was founded by the youth. And it also gave birth to Sir Ahmadu Bello Sardauna of Sokoto and Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. And we also have a good example of Northern Elements Progressive Union, NEPU, which was led by Malam Aminu Kano in 1950 at the age of 30. So where are our youth now? What is happening to Nigerian population in terms of the youth population and the older population? Why are we having older people occupying all positions in the society, allowing the youth to be at the backside? We have Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, who was only 34 years old when he was elected into the Northern Legislative Assembly in the 40s. And we have Sir Ahmadu Bello, who was in his 30s when he became member of Northern Regional Assembly. He also won election into the assembly in 1942, and he became the premier of Northern Region in 1954 at the age of 44 years. So people have been making a mark in Nigeria, and particularly here in Northern Nigeria, which is our area of discussion today. But then what is happening between that time and now that we're having youth at the backside? Then what are the barriers? We are now at the major issues now. What are the barriers to youth participation in politics? Why are they not participating in politics and also in governance in Nigeria? The first major issue is poor capacity to organize. That is why I said that I am happy that we're having this forum. And of course, there are other youth forums that we have across Northern Nigeria, but there's a poor capacity for them to organize themselves. Even though we have these small groups, they need to come together to be a unifying force that will actually take them to their dream, that will actually break the barrier between them and the older population of the society that seem to have dominated all positions in the society, a majority of the positions. Then the issue of followership position as a barrier, youth seem to accept themselves to be as followers. So whatever the older population will be saying, they will simply follow, especially in politics. So they are following and they are just listening to what they have been asked to do. And of course, in that situation, they are helpless. So any position they are given, even if they are not given, they are just at the backside. Little thing that could be given to them can just settle them. And you have the older population continue to dominate. And we have also the barrier of apathy. They seem not to have confidence in the system. They seem not to have realized that, yes, something is good is coming out of politics or in terms of governance. So majority of them have lost that hope that, yes, something is happening there. So they are not very much interested. So they need to also develop that. We'll see that in the next slide. Then the issue of sectionalism. If people are having issues in terms of looking at themselves or in terms of ethnic group, in terms of religion, in terms of tribes, and nothing will come out of that group. Because that is the issue of what people say divide and rule. So we'll continue to be in our various individual groups instead of coming together to now unify and fight a common cause, which is now the major issue. The major issue is to have youth in positions in politics and to have them in position in governance. So as long as they will not unify themselves, they will remain in their individual, tribal, ethnic, religious, and whatever groups, then certainly nothing will move. And then, of course, the issue of corruption and lack of transparency. This is a major issue that is also a hindrance to participation of youth in politics and governance. What is happening in politics? Corruption has set in. So much is happening. Some of the youth are not having the confidence that, yes, they can go venture into that and then make a difference. And much of what is happening also does not seem to have much transparency. So sometimes the more you see, the less you understand. So that is also confusing the youth in terms of their participation in politics. And of course, the issue of funding. This is a very critical issue. This is why the older population are continuing to dominate politics, and this is why they are continuing to dominate governance. Because politics in Nigeria, unfortunately, it's more to do with money. Whatever people will be saying in terms of no money in politics, even the recent one that was there, you can see, even the social media, sometimes you don't accept what you see. But what you hear, majority of it is, in fact, is true. That money is changing hands, that you have to have money to also vie for any position. To even you recognize, you have to have money. And unfortunately, the youth do not seem to have that much money that can allow them to go and make a difference in politics or in governance. So as such, the older population that are having the funds, they continue to dominate the scene. So this is a critical issue that strategies will have to come out very clearly on this so that the youth can participate in politics. But as long as money politics continues as it is today in Nigeria, then I'm afraid there is little chance for position in terms of giving youth political positions or position in governance. And of course, the issue of leadership deficit. This is a situation that is also very critical. Wherever the small number of youth that you have in positions will have to now make themselves very clear in terms of making their marks. They have to show to the world, they have to show to the older population that yes, we can. We are also able and capable hands. That even though that those 1950s we are talking about, or 40s, we have elders that youth that are dominating, or they dominated the country at that time in terms of politics, and they made their mark. So even now for us today as youth, we also can make a difference. So even though many of the youth are not in positions, but those that are in position must show that yes, they can, so that they build confidence in the older population that any position that the youth can be given, yes, they can. So they have to really show that they can. And in that case, once you have people there, no matter how small number they may be, they are your own role models. There are people that will now, whatever they do will be okay, so the youth can also perform. Look at that person in that position. So that will begin to now break that barrier in terms of allowing the older population for the youth to also participate. And of course, the last issue here as a barrier is the issue of exclusion. They are completely excluded. Whatever the older population are doing, as I mentioned earlier, they take the youth to be followers. So they are simply their followers or their errand persons. They will just simply send them here, send them there, and they seem to accept that position, unfortunately. So they have to show that, no, we are also interested in participating. We are also interested in partnering. We are not interested in just being followers that will just be there without having any position. So they will just be following and they're excluded. So they have to be excluded to be involved to ensure that, yes, the youth are participating. Then what are those barriers? Then what are some of the strategies that will now help us to have effective youth participation in politics and governance in northern Nigeria and in Nigeria at large? So I said that the youth must participate in every aspect of political and economic affairs of the country for Nigeria to attain its development goals. Like when we are talking of gender, you cannot exclude a large number of your population and then expect that you can make any development. You cannot make any development. Most of what we are having now in terms of crisis, in the social crisis that we are having as a result of this youth that are excluded. So they have to have their own proper position. They must be taken along in terms of politics, in terms of economic activities, so that they can also be part of the system. And that is when we can have peace. They should be engaged in politics and governance to help bring greater dynamism and responsibility into the system. They must be fully engaged. They should be enlightened about the general politics of the country. And all this can be summarized in my last slide as follows: that the issues that we need to take apart after going through the barriers to the youth participation in politics, we need to now see what are the strategies. How do we now break these barriers to ensure that they participate actively in politics and also in governance in the country? So number one, the issue of advocacy. Yes, you have started and you have started well. So you have to really mobilize. Youth must advocate, mobilize, carry all others on board, merge all those small groups in terms of ethnic, in terms of religious, in terms of whatever groups, and then ensure that you have a unifying force. Advocate that you have to have proper organization. As long as youth are not organized, not much is coming out of this. But they have to have an organized forum that will carry on board all the youth. And then you can now be a unifying force, a very strong force, a pressure group that will now venture into the old political class so that the youth can also participate effectively. You have to articulate effective politics. Policies, policies. So you have to have effective policies that will say, now we as youth, we really are interested in joining this particular political parties. You have to start from the political parties, from the ward levels, then up to the local government levels, and then up to the state level, and also to the national level. So you have to have effective plan in terms of your own policies in politics, so that you also have your strategy, and then you also have your own plan, so that right from the bottom, from the lower level of the ladder up to the top, you are represented. And that is how you can now be carried on board. Then you have to participate in education and skills programs to promote enlightenment and economic security. It is very important that we are educated, and I'm happy to have seen that our own children, that our young doctors are leading these teams. And it's good that you are there, but you have to encourage others that they have to be educated and they have to use their skills in terms of developing themselves, not to misuse it in terms of joining other groups that are on the other side of the ladder. So it is very important that we are skilled, we know what we are doing, and that we can now face the older population and of course make our mark. You have to also promote law and order, that anything we do, we have to do within the law. It has to be within the law, within the order of the country or the nation, so that we don't break laws. What is happening in Nigeria today is very unfortunate. And most of it is because of the negligence that we have for this youth. And unfortunately, the time bomb has exploded, and we have been seeing the result, which is very unfortunate. So we have to have people that will follow law and order, but the older population also have to know that they also have to carry this youth on board, so that we avoid the issue of lawlessness and a lack of order. And of course, encouraging social cohesion and collaboration. As I mentioned earlier, yes, you have to have a unifying force, a unifying factor. You have to collaborate. You have to ensure that, yes, you are together. You can be in Saudi Arabia, yes, you are there. Some of them in the UK, some of them here, some of them in other parts of the world. And you are having a team here, good. But all those that are also on ground here in Nigeria, you mobilize them. Of course, some of them are already in your program, but you have to continue to mobilize to have an effective network. That is the only thing that will carry you to where you think you will be. And we wish you well, and we hope that the older population will understand. Promoting responsibility among the youth. Yes, people have to be very responsible. We have to promote ourselves in terms of taking up the responsibilities given to us, so that, as I mentioned, we are role models wherever we see ourselves. I'm happy to see Tariq and others there, carrying along this program. So it's very good. You are our pride. So it is very important that you are very responsible. Any responsibility you are given, you do it to the logical conclusion and effectively, so that people will say, okay, oh, so this youth can perform. It is very important that you convince the older population that yes, you can. And then, of course, the issue of mentoring, which is the major focus of your program, is very important. Continue to mentor the youth, because as you continue to mentor them, they will now be on board, and then they will say, okay, all those other things that some of them are doing, it's not the right thing. So that you can now be rechanneling their thinking. You can change their mindset in terms of doing the right thing. But at the same time, as you are united, you now continue to ensure that whatever is happening in all these political parties, in governance, in whatever is happening in the country, you are also represented. You have to make your mark. You have to ensure that you have a kind of network of communication with all these groups, that whatever they are doing, you also have your representative there. That is when you will begin to be on board. And as long as you don't do that, then they will continue to exclude you. And the consequence is what we are seeing, and it's very unfortunate. So in my conclusion of this brief remarks, I said Nigeria's development depends on youth active participation in politics and in governance. As I mentioned in the introduction, there's no way we can sideline or keep aside a third of the population without carrying them on board and expect that things will happen well. And the result or the consequence, it is very hard on all of us now. And this is what we are happening today in Nigeria, what we are seeing here in Nigeria. It is no longer about being leaders of tomorrow. That is an old fashion. They have to also be involved now. The challenge is that they have to be involved. They also have to be carried on board. They also have to participate. They are old enough. If we look at what happened back as the earlier years of Nigerian history, what happened is fortunate for us, but unfortunately the reverse is happening now. So we need to reverse the situation to the other the time that we used to have people at young age occupying positions and doing things well. The youth working in collaboration with other groups should organize themselves, enlighten the population, and use their superior numbers to support effective politics and efficient governance. They must work to understand the dynamics of the society, and they must have a strategy to approach positively influence the course of events. They have to have that courage to face the older population to ensure that also they venture into what is happening in politics and in governance, and they also make their mark. This is in the interest of Nigeria, and it is also in the interest of the growth of Nigeria as a nation. I thank you very much, and I would like to continue to encourage the Arewa Youth Mentorship Program in supporting youth in the region towards getting into the mainstream of political and economic affairs of the country. And I wish you well, and I hope and pray that the older population will allow you to do so. That's my prayer. Thank you for your attention.
Well, thank you very much, Prof. Well, usually after these talks, I get to say something, a few things, one or two, but you've covered everything. You've said it, and you've concluded it. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much for, first of all, honoring our invitation and for sparing your time to, make the PowerPoints, make the slides, and also, give us this talk. We really appreciate it. You've covered everything. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much, Ma.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ma. So our next, I'm sure there's going to be quite a number of questions or comments, but what we intend to do is to have this after all the talks. So I know you might have quite a very busy schedule, but if you're going to be around till the end, hopefully you're going to get a few questions from our audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Right. So our next speaker today is Dr. Mariam Shettima. Dr. Mariam received her master's from the University of East London and a honorary degree from ESGT University. She has also obtained a certificate and became a Kingian nonviolence practitioner inspired by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Of Emory University in the United States. Well, she won a Public Policy Challenges of the 21st Century certificate from the University of Virginia. And she's known for her philanthropic initiatives. She has participated as field operations member of the presidential campaign team and was a member of the presidential youth and women campaign team and also strategic communication team. Dr. Mariam today will talk about the challenges faced by aspiring female candidates and how to overcome these challenges. Now, Prof have already given us a bulk whole of the challenges that are faced, but in this next presentation, Dr. Mariam is going to focus solely on the female aspect of things. Dr. Mariam, are you here with us?
Okay. Thank you for having me here. I'm super delighted to be considered to be part of such a privileged discussion and amidst this incredibly outstanding individuals like Professor Rukaya, who also happens to be like personally an aunt and someone I truly look up to always. So I must admit that having her speak has been the most intimidating part of this Zoom meeting, but I would still try in my own little way to express the kind of challenges ladies generally face once they show an interest in delving into politics. So as the topic goes, breaking the barrier of youth participation in governance with focus on women. When women participate in politics, the effects ripple out across society. Women are the world's most underused resources. I didn't say that, interestingly. It was Hillary Clinton that said this. And I thoroughly believe in that. Women's political participation is a fundamental prerequisite for gender equality and genuine democracy. So the topic I'm going to speak on is conceptualized on two major issues. There are the barriers, as she had earlier mentioned, and also the solutions. For me, I classified the barriers into basically three main groups. There are the sociocultural group, the sociocultural factors that are quite an obstacle for women's participation in politics. There are also the political bid, which is also quite massive. And we also have the economical factors affecting women's representation in politics. So when you talk of the political party system, there are multiple factors. Some are related to the political party systems and structures. For instance, the high cost of politics prevents women from standing for positions. Often women don't have enough money to buy the mandatory expression of interest forms or the nomination forms required by the political party for one to be able to contest on their various platforms. In addition, election campaign costs are quite exorbitant. They are absolutely outrageous. Sorry, it might sound like a repetition, but we basically revolve around the same factors once politics is involved. Like my mentor had mentioned that whether anybody likes it or not, politics is money. So this is how it is. And that's really something that's causing a serious dearth of women's participation in politics. And poor access to education also means poor access to gainful employment, which is quite limited, especially for ladies. To even be able to secure a job that would enable you afford such things is quite difficult. And then there's unpaid labor burdens and outright discrimination. Also mean that women are less likely to be able to afford to follow through, to follow through the process of securing a leadership position. It is based on meritocracy. It is never based on meritocracy. It's always about who you know or who you don't know in the political ecosystem, unfortunately. Then when we look at the sociocultural bit, the hierarchical and patrilineal nature by which our society is regulated greatly impedes women's participation and representation in politics in Nigeria, especially coming from this part of the country, the North, where, definitely men are always considered the head of the houses and the head of the communities, and women literally have very minimal roles to play unless they really assert themselves and are quite outgoing and decide to sort of change the status quo, which is quite difficult because you're bound to meet lots of resistance and misunderstanding and misconception, So, but they mostly include the cultural, religious norms surrounding marriages and indigenship, a concept that recognizes only ethnic groups native to a particular state, and the structures that portray women as subordinate to men, which I had earlier on mentioned. In other words, that's patriarchy. And then there is the stigmatization. Sadly, once a lady shows an interest and starts being active in politics, and it mostly happens in the northern part of the country, where you see that people tend to be quite judgy, unfortunately. And I think Islamically, there are hadiths that encourage one to be mindful of what they say about others, especially if they are not sure. The kind of opinions you just automatically make about someone is is really bad. I mean, if you are not going to say something good about someone or think of something good about them, then you're better off just keeping quiet, which sadly is not the practice amongst most people. They jump to judge, and women that participate in politics, I'm quite a victim of that, not once, not twice. And I'm sure I came across a lot of colleagues and other ladies in similar circumstances as myself, going through such, where people tend to look down upon them as either shameless or they're simply promiscuous. Where they got that, I have absolutely no idea. So I think that's grossly unfair and mischievous and quite manipulative, And then there is the political violence bit, which is also a serious problem in Nigerian politics, especially. And we would not say we are unaware of the recent happenings of such, like what's been recently happening in Kano. You would see thugs and whatever they call themselves, armed and destroying people's properties, destroying, harassing people, locking them up in offices. Well, Nigerian politics is not really a stranger to violence. And this makes a lot of women shy away from politics because it's quite scary sometimes, the extent people go. In some parts of the country, people get murdered for simply declaring their intention of wanting something, or wanting to participate or contest in a political position, for a political position. So definitely, female aspirants of various political parties cannot withstand that political violence, and therefore participation of women in politics is drastically reduced. And then you got the political violence against women in politics. This is also another part of violence, but then it slightly differs from the violence in politics, because this is majorly directed at the ladies themselves. And they could be in the form of physical harassment, it could be a verbal abuse, it could be a sexist comments of some sort, of physical assault, all of which have a direct impact on women's level of participation in politics. So it is actually Dr. Fraser, who happens to be a United Nations expert in politics, had observed that violence against women in politics, we call it VOP, is used not only to intimidate the victim, but also to send a message to other women like, look, hey, you're not wanted here, keep off. So sadly, that's one of the things. Then again, we look at the economic barriers, which had also manifested in the political party system. It's literally very, very similar. It's still talking about resources, limited access to finance. The entire politics of Nigeria has been monetized through other political party organs. Godfatherism is the surest way to succeed if you really want to be a force to reckon with in the political arena. The political space has been hijacked by political money, but sadly, it is largely to the exclusion of women and youths, because somehow the women and youths issues go pari passu, or hand in hand, like one would prefer it to be said. The exorbitant price of the funds, there is perceived concentration of power among those with capital funds as one of the challenges that face aspiring women. Money politics is almost impossible, it makes it almost impossible for aspiring women that are focused on well-meaning individuals to really participate. You're going to self-actualize the campaign, the votes buying, it's completely corrupt and takes a lot of money, and that's quite limiting for women who are merely dependent on others and have meager jobs and stuff like that. And that is it. So like I said, my presentation is sort of classified in two. There are the barriers and then the solutions. I've spoken about the obstacles. I would like to elaborate more on the sociocultural bit as it applies to me as a Hausa lady from Arewa, from the north. It's quite embarrassing and humiliating when a lady tries to join some cause, or tries to impact on people's lives, or doing your own thing, and that's participation. It doesn't have to be you buying a form and just saying, oh, I want to run for an office. I think it's beyond that. It's applicable to every single activity of our lives as humans. So what we do every day. So you could be political, whether it's by joining your immediate community or neighborhood or PTAs and stuff like that. There are various ways of joining politics. So sadly, you would see that this has happened to me, and I'm sure any grown-up lady, any woman that somehow has delved into one or two of these things I'd mentioned must have encountered such disturbing trends and issues, where you would see that the first thing the people would say would be like, why isn't she in her husband's house? And to me, I think that was quite judgy and unfortunate, because it's people trying to make people's lives better and then being discouraged by such issues. I have not gotten anything against marriage. I think it's a wonderful thing. It's fulfilling. It's what our religion encourages us to do, and it's whatever right thinking woman would want to be in. But then people just jump in and saying that why not in your husband's house, I think is quite rude, and is actually confrontational to God. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that lets people get married or not get married, and you try your best and you leave the rest to him. Or some of them may have been divorced, or some of them may have been widowed. You just never know. It just simply didn't happen. But then people don't want to give people that benefit of the doubt. It's always like, oh, go and get married. And it's quite sad. And I'm sure a lot of women might find that relatable. And then, of course, the promiscuity bit, we're not unaware of the fact that some political meetings, I haven't been to so many at night, but yeah, we're aware that somewhere being fixed at night or somewhere far from where someone's comfort zone really is. And that might be quite challenging, especially for us in Arewa, where, of course, you're supposed to be in your husband's house if you're married, and it wouldn't be fair on them, frankly, to start jumping around from one meeting to the next, in the middle of the night. I mean, it's totally unfair. And I find that somehow manipulative, because I think naturally it's going to discourage women from participating more in politics. So basically, these are some of the things, and we should also try to know that Islamically, there are very outstanding women that had contributed one way or the other in leadership and governance, and it's several positive ways, to enhance Islam and enhance their culture and all of that. And there was Nana Khadija, who was the first wife of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and my main mentor, to be honest with you. Whenever everyone asks who my mentor truly is as a woman, she's my first mentor, and I adore her, really. She's someone that a lot of people would look up to. So there are women like that. There was the Nana Asma, who was a daughter to Sheikh Usman Dan Fodio. She contributed hugely to the spread of Islam and all of that, which is also some form of leadership and governance. So, when people start to question us or women that try to delve into politics, I think they should be fair enough and try to appreciate the sophistication of our religion than just ignoring everything and being so extreme and ignorant and biased and chauvinistic. I believe a lot of people will find this relatable. So enough of all that. Now what we are going to talk about is, what is the way forward? What are the solutions? Okay, following the trends and happenings around the political environment in Nigeria, it is becoming clearer that women may never achieve the mandated affirmation as enshrined in the Beijing Plan of Action, except the following recommendations are adhered to. Number one, for me, the political parties should create a kind of support system, a support network for prospective young women aspirants by pairing them with established women politicians who will be playing key role as mentors and provide capacity building for young or aspiring female politicians as to enhance and develop them ahead of subsequent elections. I think that resonates very well with me. And my mentor there, Professor Rukayetu, had mentioned once and twice that she's not a politician, but then again, she's a leader. And as such, we're lucky to have known people like that, people of great importance and value, and people we have always looked up to, and people we got the chance to know personally and somehow mimic to develop ourselves, whether they realize it or not. We are thankful to God for that. And we're so proud to have her as a Northern woman politician mentor. And then the second way to solve all this, I think, is by giving women chances to participate more in movements, engaging women as movement leaders. It means positioning them with authority, purpose, and ability to create enabling environment that allows the women to engage meaningfully in key decision-making processes in a sustainable and effective way that is devoid of any form of violence or any kind of harassment, as I had earlier on mentioned. Introducing the quota system at all levels of government and identifying and engaging relevant stakeholders, such as Independent National Electoral Commission, would go a long way also in ensuring this does happen. And political parties and the INEC should be seen to ensure that they should ensure strict adherence to it. Then there is the establishment of legal funds to assist women politicians to challenge the electoral malpractices of any form at all levels of political processes. This is very critical in the sense that almost at any given time there's been an election, you would see that there would be manipulations and suspicions and mistrust, and definitely women are constantly being changed for us, but we're sure with time and perseverance and patience that is going to all change in no time. So women should be supported with that, because what are you going to be dealing with? Where are you going to be focused on? Is it going to be sourcing the money to buy these forms and eventually to be able to contest, only for you to now to be shortchanged and at the last minute some delegates you had no business with because you probably didn't have enough money to buy them up or whatever, would just come and twist things up, and it would be like somebody else had one instead of you, when you've got so much in you to give to the society, to give back, to make your nation a better place, to encourage other women, to get them out of the darkness they're in, and see and ensure that everyone is happy and maximally useful. So data in this case is necessary game changer in terms of identifying ways to prevent, protect, prosecute, and develop politics combating violence against women, including politics. I chose to wear orange today for just to stress on this point, of violence against women and violence against women in politics, because we are in the 16 days of activism. I think I've pretty much come to the end of my presentation, and I'm waiting for others and their vast knowledge to tap from. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much for that very interesting talk. You've mentioned quite a number of problems as well, as Prof did. You've reiterated these problems, but what stood out from your presentation is the discrimination of women, which I think it's something that's really, really important. But then, of course, you've also mentioned what are the ways that we could do away with this problems. You've mentioned the need for women networks, which I think is very, very important, where you can have role models, and also create an enabling environment. Because one of the main problems you've mentioned was, things like organizing meetings very, very late. It's quite difficult for women to participate in that. And of course, I'm not sure if it's the culture where, as you said, people tend to think, you should be, in your husband's house and things like that. But I think you've studied all. You've mentioned some very, very interesting points, which I think what we're saying here, the main aim is for us to go away and start this discussions and see how we can actively participate. So thank you very much for such an interesting presentation. As I've mentioned earlier, I'm sure there's quite a lot of questions and comments. So if you could please do hold on until the end of the session, that way you could address these. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. So our next speaker is Dr. Muaz Ma'aji. Unfortunately, as I've mentioned earlier, that Barrister Saida Saad won't be able to make it. So Dr. Saad is chipping in to present what Barrister initially intended to present. I don't have much about Dr. Muaz, but I'll just have a look. I think I've received a few. Right, so Dr. Muaz is an alumni of Sheffield University and had received several leadership and good governance courses across several institutions, including George Washington University Law School, Oxford Said Business School, Milwaukee University. He's a Desmond Tutu Scholar and a Fellow of the African Institute of Leadership, amongst others, and also contested in, I think, twice political offices. So, Dr. Muaz, I will let you kindly introduce yourself. I'm sure you'll do a better job than I did. And then go ahead with your presentation, please. Dr. Muaz, are you here with us?
Which name is he using?
I'm not sure, actually.
I think
sorry, not Muaz, Dr. Noura Ma'aji, yes, sorry about that.
Okay, he's here, but maybe he's not joining as Noura Ma'aji. Maybe it's another name. So if you could send maybe a personal message to identify him, that would help.
Dr. Noura Ma'aji. I've just sent a message now. I'm not sure if you could hear us, Dr. Noura. We just need to unmute you, that way you'll be able to speak, but then we don't know what name you're using.
So I just received a message from Barrister Saida. She also says she could not spot him. She believes he should be here, but she couldn't spot him also. So maybe we can go to the next speaker, then they can swap.
Okay.
The next,
yes.
Yeah, maybe
yes. That's right. So while we sort that out, I think we'll move on to our next speaker, Dr. Usman Bugaji. As I've mentioned, most of our presenters today are renowned. These people need no introduction, but nonetheless, I think it's very important to say a few things about them before they do start their talk. Dr. Usman Bugaji is an Islamic scholar, a political activist, and a civil society leader and a thinker. He obtained his master's and doctorate degree both from the University of Khartoum in Sudan, and he has served as special advisor on political affairs to Nigerian Vice President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar between the years 2019 to 2003. In 2003, he was elected to represent the Kaita Jibia federal constituency at the Federal House of Representatives, where he chaired the House Committee on Foreign Affairs until 2007. Dr. Bugaji was appointed the National Secretary of the Action Congress, where he worked to institutionalize democratic reforms and greater participation of women. You contested for governorship of Katsina State under the Action Congress. And his talk today would be about overcoming the jinx of political godfatherism and monetization of the political atmosphere. Dr. Bugaji, thank you for being here with us.
Thank you very much. I'm very delighted to join this very important conversation. And I think I would want to start with the context. I may have missed the beginning because I have to leave a meeting to join this one. And
sorry to cut you off. We're not able to see you, sir.
Oh, you can't see me up to now?
No.
Yeah, the camera is off, perhaps.
Well, my camera is working. I can see myself on my screen.
Right.
I don't know what else is happening.
Right.
Well, the hitches are many, but if you can listen to me, that's good enough, I'm sure.
That's
can
right.
You hear
that's right.
the voice?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Very good. I think that's good enough. I don't see what is wrong
Yes, now
here.
it's okay. Now it's okay.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, you can see. Okay, fine, good.
Good.
So I said, let me start with the context. I may have missed some of the things that have been said in the introduction. So if I repeat or I do something quite different from the rules that have been set out, please do forgive me because I may have missed some of the things that have been said earlier. But I think we are having a discussion within a context. And I think the context is not just young people have not been given the opportunity to participate in politics as they ought to, but also that our democracy has been overtaken by rogue politics. And this happened in the last 20 years. When we return to civilian democratic rule, and if you take the statistics in the last 20 years, you will see that in the last 20 years, poverty has more than tripled. If you look at the issue of security has escalated to points that were inconceivable. Governance, especially corruption, has risen to a level that nobody ever thought, and in fact, it's even surprising how the country is still moving, given the level of corruption that's taken place in governance. If you look at the manpower, health and education, the statistics are awful. We have not been able to create jobs. We have not been able to solve many of the problems that are facing this country in the last 20 years. This is in spite of the fact that we got unprecedented revenue, the kind of revenue we never expected to get. Some of you will recall in 1999, the price of oil was barely $10, $11 per barrel. Soon after the takeoff of this civilian democratic rule, the price of petrol, which is the main source of earning for the 20, it then went to 30, it went as far as over $100 per barrel. So we made a huge amount of revenue, and yet there is nothing to show for it. We have not been able to fix our infrastructure. We have spent, as of the time I left Parliament, over 13 billion. 4 years after, it came to 16 billion. I don't know what it is now, dollars, without a single addition of a watt of electricity. The point here is, in the last 20 years, we have basically been destroying our society, and we have put this country on a terrible trajectory. And it is not possible for us to continue along this trajectory in the next, God knows, 4 years, another 8 years. And so it's very important we address these issues that are being raised here, because unless we can correct our politics and salvage our country from the current trajectory, we are going down the drain, and we can hit the rocks. And there are countries that have unfortunately hit those bottom that have not yet been able to come out. Somalia is one of them. Liberia is another. Sierra Leone is another. Luckily for Rwanda, they have sprung
It seems to be muted. Is that just me?
Yes, that's right.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, he's back.
Yes, we can.
Sorry for the break. Our network here is epileptic. And I used to say that the telephone lines and the networks are just like the country itself. So we have to manage, what we have. But let me make the more important point. This discussion is important because young people are the greatest stakeholders today. If this country is fixed and becomes better, they are the ones to enjoy it. If it is not fixed, they are the ones to suffer. So I think young people are the greatest stakeholders and they should not be watching. They should throw themselves into the field and be able to change the trajectory this country is on at the moment. And let me come back to the issue of the two major issues I've been asked to address: godfatherism and money politics. Now, this is not, in my own view, is not a jinx. It is something that was deliberately created by the rogue politician that took over politics in 1999. And this is the kind of thing they create everywhere. They create a cartel. You have to belong to that cartel to be able to participate. The governors became the leaders of the party. It was never so. The chairman of the party is the leader of the party. He is the one who has the manifesto of the party. Who contest under the platform of the party are like ambassadors of the party that are being sent out to translate the manifesto of the party into practical reality. In other words, if a governor or a president or a member of the National Assembly or a councillor or a local government chairman contests for a post under any particular party, he is supposed to be there representing his party. And his party is supposed to have a particular position on issues of development. They may have, positions on issues of human capital development. They may have a position on the kind of economy they want to run. They must have a position. That's what makes them different from other political parties. But as we all know, today, these parties have no content, they have no courage, they have no conscience. There is nothing that differentiates the APC from the PDP. If you read the manifestos, you will think that they have been written by the same person. And therefore, there is no difference. So these rogue politicians, most of them really are empty. They have no idea. So I was making the point that it is the rogue policy that took over and turned it to what it is today, where these parties have no content and therefore you cannot differentiate. And this is what makes it easier for a member of APC tomorrow to become PDP, and the next day he is APC, and the next day again he is shamelessly, he will come back to APC, because there is nothing that differentiates them. Just 30, 40 years back, when you had NPN, you have PRP, you had NCNC, you have all these other parties. Every party has a particular position on a range of issues. Look, we have a huge problem. Our democracy is led by men, and we have to transit from the politics of big men with big pockets to the politics of big ideas. It is ideas that run and rule the world. And if we do not inject ideas into our democracy, this country is going to continue to go down the drain until we hit the bottom, the rock bottom, God forbid. Therefore, what we need to do as young people is basically not to complain, because in the real world, you should know nobody gives you what you deserve. Don't sit down and say, okay, young people deserve to be. It is the most sensible thing to do, to bring young people, because that's how you get sustainability. But don't, as young people, stay there complaining. No, what you need to do is to come out with an alternative. Like I said, in the real world, you don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate for. And the currency for negotiation is power. Yes, these people have the power of money. The people we are going to contest, against have the power of the political seats that they hold at the moment. But these are not the only sources of power. Power has a number of other sources. Power can be economic, it can be political, it can be military, but it can also be intellectual, it can be moral, it can also be demographic. And young people have the demography that can really turn the things around. You are the majority. You are basically about 60, 65%, even though I've had the statistics of 18 to 35 or whatever, up to 40, up to 50. You are the majority. If you organize yourself, you should be able to wrest power and then bring in ideas and salvage this country from the kind of trajectory it has been put. How do you do that? You create an alternative. And the way to create an alternative is to bring yourself together into a mass movement of people. I mean, it's a country of over 200 million people. I mean, young people make nearly, if not 100, at least 60, 70 million. How many people really vote to bring? So if you take a fraction of that, because the number of votes you require to win a presidential election is basically under 20 million. And so if you can mobilize 20 million votes of young people on a particular platform, you can either create your own party, which is easier to register, or you can use an existing party that will be prepared to change its leadership recruitment mechanism. Because part of the problem is what godfatherism and money politics, that it blocks or it distorts the recruitment mechanism. And what you need is to change or recalibrate this mechanism so that it recognizes and prioritizes knowledge, character, experience, so that you will now be able to bring in the kind of people that can solve the problems of this country. Most of these people who are, preparing to contest in the elections are usually people who have barely been to school, who are empty. They have no ideas. If you sit them up and say, what is your own solution to the problem of insecurity in this country, they'll just start scratching their head. They have no idea. Their idea is to get, but I think what is important is some of us have already started. You must have heard about the Rescue Nigeria project. That's not the only way. You can do your own. But what we are trying to do basically is to create a movement which will bring in the numbers that are required, and then without having to rely on any money back, do crowdfunding to fund our own activities and create an alternative political platform and field people who have the knowledge, who have got the character, who have got the experience to be able to go to those positions and see how we can solve the problems of this country. We are not going to, these people are not going to, no amount of sermon or preaching or advocacy is going to change them. They're entrenched in their own ways, they're entrenched in their own interest. They're not going to let go. You have got to get this power out of their hands. You have the numbers. You have got a lot of you people are educated. You have got the ideas. So what are you waiting for? Why should you wait for somebody to create space for you? You simply create an alternative platform and contest for power and take over power. If necessary, demonstrate and take over the whole thing. Why should you wait for these old people wasting your time, destroying your country, and creating all the problems that you are expected to solve in the next 10, 20 years? Why should you wait for them to do that? You have got all the space. So you have got to, one last point I want to make is I would want to encourage you to Google marshmallow test. You see, sometimes when you talk about young people, you think that simply being young gives you all that it requires for you to succeed. No, there are certain qualities that we have to identify. If you read this marshmallow test, it was a test conducted by one of the universities in the United States, young people, and basically it's about identifying those elements, those human elements in human beings that allows them to success. And I'm not saying this is the only one, but this is the key success factor. This test has shown that, young people were given tasks to do, and when they finish, they would be given one marshmallow test. If they are able to wait for a little longer, they will get 2. Now, those who are able to postpone their gratification, those who have got the discipline to look ahead and to wait, to get 2, were the ones who eventually succeeded in life. So it means that, being young alone doesn't guarantee that you'll be able to. You need to be knowledgeable. You need to have the character. You need to have the ability to restrain yourself, to be focused on your vision. These are the kind of things you require. So this is the much I can, because the system, the network seems to be breaking from time to time, and I don't want to keep you on the edge. For the moment, I think I've been able to basically raise the context so that you can see the danger that this country is facing. And you are the ones to suffer if it's not fixed. You are the ones to gain if it gets fixed. And that these godfathers and money politicians are not going to let you. It doesn't matter the advocacy. It doesn't matter the preaching or the sermon. They're not going to let go. You simply have to move ahead, get an alternative political platform, organize yourself, contest for power, win, and begin. You may not win, all of you, in the first instance, but if you start creating a colony, if you like, if you start creating a team, and you start gradually building up your own membership, your own abilities, you find yourself there in the shortest possible time. And I thank you for the opportunity to share some of my thoughts with you. And I do hope that you will continue to discuss issues along this line. But more than that, you should begin to be on the field. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you. I think you've also covered everything. Well, that's one of the when you have experts in the field, they don't let you have much to speak about, even though you're having technical difficulties. But within the little short span that you have, you've been able to capture everything. You've talked about big ideas. It's not all about, money, of course, funding, as we've heard from our previous speakers, is very important. But it's not all about just money. We, the youth, would have to come up with alternatives, as you've mentioned, and come up with ideas, key, credible, concrete ideas. Education has also been mentioned earlier. And you've talked about we, the youth, having the demography. We need to organize. It's not all about, just talking. We can talk all we want, but we have to put our thoughts into actions. We have to actually act. And coincidentally, you talked about the marshmallow test. Coincidentally, just a few days ago, our coordinator, Dr. Woodil, actually had a write-up which was published in a number of social media platforms. And he did actually talked about this marshmallow test, the delayed gratification, and also another factor, which is the risk aversion. And based on the little experiments they've done, they realized, which was done very recently, apart from the marshmallow test, of course, that a lot of our youth in Nigeria now tend to be risk averse, and they don't have that much characters for delayed gratification. So people just want things now. They don't think ahead and plan ahead. So thank you very much for your talk. I'm sure, of course, you'll have questions and comments. So please do hang on till the end of the session. Thank you very much, sir. Right, so we're not able to get a hold of Noura Ma'aji. However, Barrister have nominated another person in person of Shamsuddin Abdurrahman. I don't have any introduction of yourself, Mr. Abdurrahman. So if you could kindly introduce yourself before you start your talk. Can we unmute Shamsuddin Abdurrahman, please?
I only have one Shamsuddin here.
Shamsuddin Abdurrahman, I think that's what I've seen now. Shamsuddin Abdurrahman.
Yeah, Mama. Is it your mama?
Yes, it is he.
Is it you?
Yes, it is.
Okay, okay.
If you can kindly introduce yourself and then go ahead.
All right, I'm just, this is kind of impromptu. I have joined earlier. I am Shamsuddin Abdurrahman. I'm a lawyer by training, and I used to work in the National Assembly as a senior legislative aide to one of the Nigerian senators, and previously as an advisor to the former Speaker of the House of Representatives. I think that's enough so as not to bore you all. I'm just hearing that I'm to represent Barrister Saad, who is also a mentor to me. I want to start by thanking the organizers, and actually I'm multitasking. I'm using my phone, it's on speaker mode, and I'm driving to the airport. So please, I will crave your indulgence to maybe say a few words, and I'll join and continue listening. The topic is quite very important, and it is quite challenging to all of us. The reality is that it is beyond social media activism and holding discussions. We really have to get our boots on ground. The reality that faces us in Nigeria, particularly in the northern part, is quite glaring. I will, since it's Saida's brief, I will want to briefly talk about women participation because she has a passion for that. On the issue of women participation, I had the privilege of listening to Professor Rukaya and one of the doctors that spoke before, Dr. Usman Bugaje. I will want to make a point that, yes, women participation, particularly those from the northern part of the country, if we look at the representation, maybe in the National Assembly, it clearly shows that we are really lagging behind, although the number generally for the women is grossly inadequate, more needs to be done. But I will want to use this opportunity to even challenge the women folks more, because we all know that political parties, usually give a lot of consideration for the women. If they come out to contest, the money for the form, usually some parties even give free for women. And my experience in the National Assembly has been almost all the women representatives, members of the House of Reps, senators, if you go to their offices, they are given instant blank checks to employ 5 aides, a senior legislative aide, a personal assistant, a secretary, and 2 other staff. But the reality is, if you look at it, if you go to any of the offices, you hardly see a woman utilizing and empowering a fellow woman whom she can mentor. That's the reality. So women themselves need to look inwards and correct these anomalies, because mentoring is key. I want to believe more needs to be done, and the stereotypes need to be corrected, particularly in northern Nigeria. But women also from the north who have positions, we can begin to name names, but that's not the occasion for this. If you go to their offices, you hardly see them employing a woman as a special assistant or as a technical assistant whom she will mentor and maybe recommend to head one of the boards or agencies in her ministry or parastatal, or as a legislator. So that is important. It goes beyond complaining. We all have to begin to take steps and take action. That is what I will say. But women really need to take the bull by the horn and participate. Let them not be contented with just a position of women leader in the political parties. And more needs to be done. And with constant enlightenment and discussions like this, I believe we're on the right track, and we shall get there if we begin to discuss and put our boots on ground and take action. That is that on the issue of women participation. And for the younger people, Dr. Bugaje, my mentor, has almost said it all. We really need to get organized. and get our boots on ground. The reality is that most of us are not even card-carrying members of political parties. You know, we have to challenge the stereotype and go in and contest for these party positions, not to be contented with position of youth leader. We have the capacity, and it's beyond complaining. We have to get boots on ground and get organized. Yes. So we are doing just that, you know, by forums like this, and I believe we can do more. We can do more. Yes, we can. I want to thank you for the opportunity, and I will want to see more of us, you know. Let's begin to also challenge our friends who are in the corridors of power, who are younger people. It goes beyond just seeing them, greeting them. Whenever we have the occasion, you know, we have to challenge them as to what they are doing towards ensuring that younger people get the appropriate positions and placements. We have to come together, and we're doing just that. I want to thank you very much for your attention. We have to also ensure that we vote. Most of us tend not to even have the voter's card. It's beyond the social media activism. We really have to get the boots on ground. We really have to go and interact with people at the grassroots if we want to have access to political power, because it is beyond the big grammar you and I will come here to speak. It is the ordinary man that votes. And we also have to remind ourselves that we are also ordinary when it comes to, you know, solving the problems of our country, because our kinsmen are there suffering and they don't have the privilege of having maybe an education as much as we do. So our inability to go down there and get dirty and participate, you know, have our voters cards, go there, register and go to vote. The reality is that if you go down to your locality on election day, you see the kind of people that come out to vote. You realize that most of the people you see doing social media activism, criticizing, making projections, you hardly see them on ground. So we also have to ensure that we go down, participate in the grassroots, from the political party process, from being delegates, you know, and getting party positions and contesting elections. That is the process, and we have to ensure we do that. I thank you for your attention, and I believe, you know, with forums like this, you know, we have to continue the engagement and see how we can really implement almost all the beautiful theories we are propounding as to how to get out of the situation that we find ourselves. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I thank Barrister Saida for nominating me, and I thank you for having me. Have a nice discussion. I'll continue with you as I drive. Thank you very much, and I apologize for being brief. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much for chipping in. Of course, you've mentioned that you know, it's something that you've just been assigned to do, but you've also done justice to what you've been asked to do. I think it's very clear. Thank you very much for that. Unfortunately, we're not able to. Professor Jacobs not able to make it today due to some unforeseen circumstances as well. So in that case, what I'll do is I'll call on Professor Rabia to give us our closing remark. Once she's done with the closing remark, we'll pick up a few questions. I've already seen a number of hands being raised. And of course, as I've mentioned earlier, you could use the chat box if you have any questions. You can type those and have those addressed immediately after Prof's closing remark. So, but a little introduction about Professor. A lot of you, she is a mother to us all. A lot of you must have known, you know, Professor. She's a physicist, you know, a professor of atmospheric and space weather physics and a researcher at Barrow University, Kano. She's a fellow of the Institute of Applied Physics in Bern, Switzerland, the Ford Foundation and the African Scientific Institute. She's a facilitator for British Council Active Citizens Program, who encourages young people to develop efficient and peaceful communication skills for sustainable development in their communities. She was one of the 9 people that were honored as women advocates and champion in Nigeria in March 2015 as part of the International Women's Day by the British Council. She is our mentor here at Arewa Youth Mentorship Program. So I'd like to call on Prof to give us a closing remark. Prof, over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tariq. As a mentor and a trustee, board member of the Arewa Youth Mentorship Program. I am honored to be given this closing remark. The closing remark, I guess, will also include a thank you, because on the agenda was to give the vote of thanks. And so I would first of all like to thank the Arewa Youth Mentorship Program for even the foresight to start this initiative, and also for this particular session, the foresight of selecting even the topic for us to discuss, which is something that we have been chewing on in the organizing committee and also in the mentorship group. With this, I want to thank our speakers for this session, particularly my esteemed senior colleague, Professor Rukayetu Ahmed Rufai, for what she presented, which is a very good roadmap, which I believe the Arewa Youth Mentorship would pick up and continue to look at what they would be doing in the future. And I also want to thank Dr. Mariam Shettima. I'm glad I've always seen your name and on the media, on the social media, and there's always Mariam Shetty, and I didn't know that Shetty stands for Shettima, and also to be able to put a face to the name. I hope we will be able to meet sometime in the future in person. Thank you very much for what you have presented today. It's also another very good guide for the youth. Thank you so much. I want to, it's my pleasure also to thank Dr. Usman Bugaje, and I'm honored that he is present today, because during our youth days in secondary school, they were the Islamic scholars we looked up to, the Muslim Student Society, and I'm glad to be able to see him today. The course which we also pursued, they placed us on that course for our Islamic knowledge guidance, together with the Western pursuit that we went ahead to do. Thank you very much, Dr. Usman Bugaji, for honoring our invitation and for providing those insightful presentations. But permit me, please, to thank the people behind the scenes who have put this together, not just this, but many sessions of the Arewa Youth Mentorship Program. And I want to mention them by name as a way of encouraging them to keep up the good work. Dr. Yakubu Sani Wudil, who is the founder of this program, and I'm happy and honored that he called upon me when he was putting the initiatives together, and asked me to be a supervisor and a mentor and a board member. I want to say that I'm very proud that you are my student. I will shout it anywhere that Dr. Yakubu Sani Budil was my student in the physics department at Bayero University, Kano. Thank you for this initiative. And then the powerhouse behind all the sessions that we have had, Dr. Fauziya Kasey, another person I'm proud to say is my student. She has always been the one behind the ICT, the design of the posters, making sure that there are no hitches with the Zoom connections. Thank you very much. And then Dr. Anas Bisu, I think he is not here today, but he has also been one of the, Dr. Ghazali Tanimu, Dr. Kabir Isa Mayana, Ahmed Muhammad, who has always gone into many nooks and corners to find our scholarships for our mentees and to give guidance. And then Dr. Maje, Shamsuddin Muhammad, Dr. Mariam Garba, Dr. Bashir Jelani, and leaving the best for the last, our indefatigable moderator, Dr. Tariq Ahmad Galadenchi. And then I want to say a big, big thank you to to Shamsuddin Abdurrahman, the former legislative aide who impromptu represented Barrister Saida Saad. Thank you very much for multitasking and giving us the insight. And I'm very happy that you mentioned these women need to mentor women. So it's something that we have been hammering on. Women need to mentor women, and not only in all the spheres, not only in politics. That's the only way that we need to stand on the shoulders of each other in order to reach the peak where we want to be. And so I think with these words, I hope I've mentioned everyone that was behind the success of this. I want to say a very big thank you, and thank you to the speakers in particular. Yes, I think the ones I have forgotten, which are really not forgotten, are the participants. Thank you all for being here. Continue to watch our pages, the Telegram page, the YouTube, where mostly the videos are uploaded. And currently this session is live on Facebook. So I think we should take advantage of all the wisdom that we have heard today and be there and be able to participate and put your marks in the political arena for the best image of our country and the success of the country. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you very much. Well, you've mentioned all our names, but I think all the contribution that we've made was done under your supervision. So you're the alpha and the omega of everything. So thank you very much for that closing remarks. Right, I've already seen a number of hands being raised. Some, of course, are comments, while I'm sure some would be questions. So first of all, I think if you're going to ask a question, please do say who that question is assigned to. That way we can know whom among our guests would answer your question. So first of all, I'll call on Dr. Usman Ali Lawan. So if you can please unmute Dr. Usman Ali Lawan to make your comment or remarks.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for letting me in, and thank you to all the speakers, Professor Rukaya, Dr. Bugaji, and Dr. Mariam Shati, and the others. Thank you for the wonderful input. I think virtually everything else has been covered in all the presentations. Both of mine have been talking about the excuses and also the efforts that needs to be made. My comment is actually focused on the main theme of this webinar, which is actually barriers to youth participation in governance. I think the theme was well captured, but the attitude to this conversation is actually what I am mostly concerned about. I don't mean in this forum today, but looking at the number of participants, I think it's important to highlight this. So usually we talk about, when we talk about barriers to youth participation, the attitude is to focus on, issues of deprivation and lack of allowing participation. I think this webinar has done great in terms of highlighting the importance of youth engagement and also having both to be able to, manage this particular issue that we're talking about. You see, we can't be given leadership. Nobody gives it to you, you have to take it. But having listened to all the analysis and all of the numbers that have been talked about, you know that if we are able to adopt what I call adaptive leadership, every one of us in their little corner understanding that they are leaders and being able to do whatever they need to do to advance the cause of progressive behavior and attitude, then we will get here. From listening to Professor, the coordinator, and she said, she's a physicist, and she said most of the people who put this together are actually her students, which means these are students of physics who have gone on to become professionals in their career, most of them PhDs, but now being able to coordinate something for Arewa that actually transverse the entire spectrum of whether it's entrepreneurship development, or it is political engagement for young people, or it is progressive movements in Arewa. This clearly tells us that it's possible if we adopt the adaptive leadership model, we will be able to make progress. We cannot continue to use the attitude and the mentality of deprivation. Oh, come on, Amadou Bello and Tafawa Balewa and Aminu Kano, we are XYZ age, and look where we are today. If you look at recent times, I mean, the likes of Governor Nyesom Wike, the likes of even most of the governors in the North were actually in their 30s and early 40s when they became governors, or they first entered politics, either in the House of Representatives or as governors. So I mean, we need to understand that participation and youthful engagement is more important than complaining. And I think that this forum has taken the right step, and I am proud to be associated with you people, and I hope that we'll continue to engage this, and as time allows, we'll begin to have physical engagement to continue to galvanize what you people have started. And may God continue to give you the courage and the resources that you need to continue to put this through. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that insightful comment there. Thank you. Next, we have Babagana Tamarmi. If you can unmute yourself, Babagana. Babagana Tamami. Can we unmute Babagana Tamami? If not, then we'll move on to Bashir S. Hussain. Bashir S. Hussain, can you unmute yourself and ask your question or make your comment, please?
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to make my comment. I would like to first of all appreciate the presenters. All of them have, done a very good job in discussing the topic. As a form of introduction, I would like to tell all the audience, participants of this meeting, that I recently wrote a book on youth politics. It is called Black Nest, The Black Nest, student unionism, unionist, and the prospect of youth leadership in Nigeria. So what interests me particularly in this discussion is that there was literally no mention of student leaders or unionists in the entire discussion, and this is the first time in a meeting like this, on a topic like this, there was no mention of student leaders entirely. The reason I mentioned this is because when you look at the level of participation in politics, and those that are so desperate, youth that are desperate to take over leadership in Nigeria, you will see that most of them are student leaders. They have been unionists at some point in their life, and it is there that they, harbored that optimism or desperation to come and become leaders in the society. So what Dr. Bugaja mentioned, that being young doesn't guarantee that you have the qualities. Of course, youth in Nigeria are just desperate and not really, qualified. So the aim of that book that I wrote, which is being published now by ABU Press, is to highlight to us, the youth, that it's not just about wanting it and deserving it. There is also the issue of competency. Are we even ready? And all these the points, the problems that Professor Rukayatu raised are very much in line. These are the things that are hindering our political participation. So why don't we talk about why, how do we address them? And in talking about youth, category of youths in Nigeria, the ones that are actually at the receiving end of all this are the ones that we are talking statistically, 65 million, 100 million. They are the youths at the grassroots, these student leaders at the universities and colleges of education, and ordinary youth on the streets, not youths that are educated and they have traveled abroad. abroad and so on, or have had the privilege of participating in politics, or they've been aides and so on. Those ones we can say, yes, their problem is simply organization. If they are organized, they can make it. But talk about student leaders and youth at the grassroots. Their problems are beyond just money and godfather. Their problems are even in the personal development. So I think it's another area of discussion that I hope in my own little level we partner with Arewa Mentorship to further discuss on this. I would very much like to in advance welcome all of you to the book launch, which I hope inshallah will take place in January also. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Right, thank you very much. You've talked about something which is very important, although it's not really captured for say that particular part. But I think when you talk about role modeling in general, I think that will one way or the other capture student in that sense. Of course, you're very much welcome to contact us, and then of course we'll see how it goes from there. So next here we have is Mr. YM or Dr. Tukur. I think it's Dr. Yusuf Tukur. Can you unmute Dr. Tukur, please?
Hello.
Hello, yes, we can hear you.
Am I audible? All right, yeah, thank you. Yes. Well, I have just maybe 1 or 2 minutes to go. I'm sorry for raising up my hand and leaving it up. I think what I largely, to a very large extent, agree with most of what Prof. Ruqayyatu Rufai said. What I think is important is for both the youth, collectively and specifically the gender-based, that's the women or girls is to look inwards, inward looking. Let's not just be thinking that there are barriers, because if we have a unity of purpose, we have patriotism, and we have a common goal and a sense of direction, I don't think all those barriers that have been mentioned will ever be a barrier than a crossing. They'll automatically disappear because we will form a formidable force that will be non-stoppable. So let's just look inward. What is it that is required of us? To change the status quo that we are not doing. Unless we start, internally, then we'll not be able to, achieve anything. Yeah, of course, there are many young people, even in this current democratic dispensation, that have achieved a lot. Yarima Bakura became governor before the age of 40. Sule Arigandi was one of the most viable legislators that we have, and he was particularly instrumental, in quashing the third term bit of Obasanjo administration. I believe he was at some point, in the same National Assembly with Dr. Bugaji, and he did all that under the age of 40. So you can imagine if, Bankole also became a speaker at the age of 37. So, we have had such opportunities, but what legacies have we left behind as youth that will sort of, give that trust in others that, we are really capable, of, changing the status quo. So we need to look inwards. We need to make amends. We need to, have unity of purpose and have a sense of direction, which we will collectively, pursue. So thank you very much. I have to go now. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It seems like we're having comments, but I'm still going to open the floor for our guests if they want to make any comments based on what we've heard from our participants before we pick up more. Right. It seems as no comment on those comments. Right. Okay. So next we have is Abdullah, Adam Abdullah. You can unmute Adam Abdullah, please. Or it seems like Prof want to say something. I think she just unmuted herself, Professor Ruqayyat.
Yes, Doctor. I just wanted to say that all they are saying, although they are comments, but they are basically in line. They are talking about some issues, the issues of barriers, and the issues of how to ensure that we have effective strategies. And on the issue of the person that is about to launch a book said that the students are not carried on board in terms of student unionism, you have already answered that question, that yes, since they are youth, and what we are talking about the issue of collaboration, the issue of cohesion, the issue of coming together. So what we are saying is that not only the students are in the various institutions, but anywhere, whether they are in school or outside school, even though they are effective in terms of the forming themselves as unions in various institutions of higher learning, but then there are those that are also outside school, which are also a target. What mostly is happening now, even though some are educated, they have the skills, but they find themselves on the other side. So it's very important that we continue the discussion, but everything that people are saying, or the participants, they're all in line. What Dr. Bugaji has said and what Dr. Mariam has said, they're all in line with what the participants are saying. And I'm happy that we are in line with what people are saying, and especially what Professor Arabia has said as the coordinator of the entire program. So it's a line, that's what we are listening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Right, so here next we have Adamu Abdullahi. We're almost heading towards the end of the session within the next 7 to 8 minutes. If you can unmute Adamu Abdullahi, please. Adamu Abdullahi, go ahead for your comment, or he's not here anymore. Ali, we have Ali. Comment or question from Ali?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. And there is one thing that I just want to comment on, which is paining me actually from our side, we the youth. There is this. Unfortunately, I did not join the meeting on time, but I think I have to say this. Is about this voting system. It happened, I'm here from Jos. It happened recently. We met that was an election of chairmanship. And unfortunately, what I'm seeing is those that we call ourselves, we go to school, we learn something from school, are people that are not participating in voting. Those you will see in the voting point are those we used to call talks and something like that. So I think this point that we youth, we need to think and be reviving this kind of bad culture from some of us, the youth, that we can't go and we think we are matured or something like that, or something. I can't say actually, but this is the comment I think I have for the meeting.
Right, thank you very much. I'm sure there might be a comment regarding that from one of our guests. Right, next we have Amina Sufyan, who happens to be the first female to make a comment. Amina, can we unmute Amina Abu Sufyan? Abu Sufyan. Can you hear us, Amina Abu Sufyanu?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, yes.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Thank you very much for the presentation and the guidance. I'm really happy to join this group, Arewa, and issue of this politics and the barriers. As a woman from the North, if really you want to participate in politics, how people look at you, and they will be thinking that a woman does not have to participate in politics because we are from the North, you know, there is somehow they will think negative side of you, that you are not a good woman, something like that. Most of our people, they think politics is about money, is about giving self. No, politics is about right. Because you have to teach your junior ones, your kids at home, to participate in politics. And secondly, at least to know how to speak in the presence of people, to know politics, and be able to train your younger ones, maybe at home. You open up a mini political system at home, so that the younger ones they will rise to know what politics is all about and how to be part of politics when they grow up. Well, for us now, at least we are taking politics at the up. We don't know how it is, and we don't know how to start from. But with this forum, inshallah, we'll be happy to be part of the politics and how we're going to look at it and help our younger ones at home. And the more important part of it is the female in politics. Thank you very much, brothers. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. I'm sure you must have heard some of the comments that were made by Dr. Mariam, which he talked about the challenges which have been faced by women and also proposed a number of solutions to that. But I'm sure there might be a comment on that later. Right, we don't have much time, so I will ask on. I think we'll have just two more to attend to answer. To ask now. So if you have any comment or question, please do just write it in the chat box. That way we can quickly read it before we finish. But I will call on Dr. Al Hassan Wurno for your question or comment. Dr. Al Hassan Wurno.
Hello, assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. Sorry, I have not gotten the whole Zoom because we just landed in this just come back from Nigeria. I know the organization from my Facebook friend, Dr. Shetima, and some of you. I'm so happy to join the meeting and to hear from the professors, baristas, and all other young people that want to build, that want to move our country forward. If you look at Germany, I'm a medical doctor, consultant, orthopedic and trauma, working currently in Düsseldorf. If you look at Germany now, the current election that just concluded, they even have House of Representatives younger than 22 years old. 22 years old, House of Representatives. Can you imagine? And the party that come third is not even more than 4 years old. Their party for the secondary school student that they went to protest because of the climate change, and they become third in power. So if you look at this one, this shows that if we can come together to make a very strong formation, then inshallah we can make it. So that is only my contribution. Although I missed some, I missed some, but inshallah by next time we'll be there and we are ready to support. I'm not the only one here. We are more than 30,000 here. We have our own organization and we are ready to join.
Right.
And inshallah we'll move this country forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much
For your wonderful.
Yes. Thank you very much. The good thing is you can listen to these session through YouTube or Facebook. It's been recorded already, and it would be on a number of social media platforms. So you could listen to that if you've already missed it. Right. I think we're heading towards the end. I'll just call on one more person, Hamza Abdullahi Harun. As I've said, if you have any quick question or quick comment, just put it in the chat box, and I'll have that read. But Hamza would be the last person. So Hamza Abdullahi Harun, please, if you can quickly ask your question or make your comment, as we're just turning 3 now. Well, 4 in Nigeria. Hamza.
Assalamu alaikum, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, firstly, I would like to commend the effort of the organizers for organizing this wonderful discussion toward awakening the spirit of our youths to participate in the politics of their country. But what I want to say here is that based on what Professor said, Rukayat Rufai and Professor Rabi also, and also Professor Shetty, you know, the issue of development in our country, I think in the world entirely is not a one-man job. So it's a coordinated effort between both the men and the women who have wanted to carry the development of their nation. Every nation do not exclude one gender in its quest for development. And especially with the issue of politics that we're having in Nigeria, I think those are the hems of affairs has already scared most youth in trying to participate in the politics of their own country, because most of us are not even given the chance to show our potentials for development of our country. Even when we rise up and started to speak for our own side, contribute our quota to development of the country, we will be, ridiculed or taken aback by those at the helms of affairs who wanted always to monopolize all the positions and even prevent us from participating in politics. So this should be dealt with accordingly by people like you, who usually enlightens most of the youth, and also bring to the country to open that they should see our own capabilities. They should allow us, both men and women, to participate in politics, because I believe it is only when we join our hands and participate, then we will get toward development. So I will commend the effort of the organizers, and inshallah, those will continue and will strive wherever to see that we uplift the development of our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Right. Well, I think this brings us to the end of the session. However, before we go, I'll just give our guests just one minute just to say a thing or two just before we go. So I'll call on Dr. Mariam Shetty. If you have just 1 minute, if you have anything to say. Any comments to make based on the comments that have already been made? Dr. Mariam Shetty, are you still with us? Seems like not right. Professor Rukaya, to just 1 minute, if you could say one or two things before we conclude.
Yes. Thank you very much. I wish to appreciate you and your effort, as I did at the beginning of my presentation, and I wish you very well. I'm happy with the forum, and I'm happy with issues raised in the forum. And I believe that you will now begin to have a roadmap in terms of what you intend to achieve. And what we are discussing about the issue of youth is not just one section of the youth, but the entire youth in the society in northern Nigeria. So do not underrate any group. All groups, even those that are on the other side, because your influence may influence them to be on the positive side of the bench. So it is very important that that you carry everybody along and you continue just be yourselves, have a very good unifying force that will now encourage you too. I'm happy with what Dr. Bugaja has said in terms of that power is not given, never in the world. But at the same time, if you do not have strategies, there's no way you can simply come and say, because you are youth, now you must take power. So you have to have strategies. You have to have a strategic plan that will now allow you to land in the safest side of the whole scenario. So I wish you well, and I believe that you are on course. So as you continue to push yourselves into this, you will one day arrive at where you are expected to be. So I hope we will see you in the next few years in higher positions, both politically and in terms of governance. I wish you well. Thank you very much,
sir. Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you. Really appreciate it. And finally, Dr. Usman Bugaji, if you have a word or two just before we conclude. Right. Right. I think it's not here with us now. Well, thank you very much. Thank you. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much. And as we've said earlier, this is just a start. We can continue these discussions on, WhatsApp or Telegram and so on. So please do get in touch, and inshallah, as Prof just mentioned, will really be there to improve or make. Right. Sorry, I'm just. Right. Well, I think that's the end. Thank you very much. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I wish you all a good day. Thank you.